I'm Immigration Attorney John Khosravi. Yesterday I did a video breaking down the new executive order that affected nationals of various Muslim countries signed by President Donald Trump. Today I want to do an update that recaps the new changes in the last 24 hours and provide some tips for people that have to go through this process in the next week. One of the questions I get asked about the most right now are about the federal court orders that happened in the last 24 hours. 4 federal courts in the US made decisions that restricted the use of the executive order temporarily. These are injunctions or temporary restraining orders, also known as TROs, which federal courts can do to stop certain things that cause injury to people. According to the decision of 3 of the courts, if someone was in the US at the time at the airport and has been detained or was in transit, they're not permitted to be deported until further hearings and decisions are made. One court in the state of Massachusetts put a 7-day hold on the executive order and allowed people coming in through the airport in Boston, Logan Airport, to enter even if they have visas, non-immigrant visas, or immigrant visas, and refugees, and put aside the executive order temporarily. Things could change rapidly and decisions could change quickly, so it doesn't necessarily mean that option is going to stay open. What does this all mean for lawful permanent residents or green card holders? Well, most importantly today, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security made the decision to issue a natural interest waiver. In essence, because the executive order allows the administration to make exceptions to its decision, they made the exception that said people who are lawful permanent residents in the national interest could still enter the US. Now, this is very good, meaning those issues that we're having where various people were denied entry or have been detained for extended period of time in the US will stop or decrease. The reason why I say stop or decrease is because enforcement of these regulations a lot of time are inconsistent and some officers may still use old rules. Second of all, just because LPRs or lawful permanent residents are entering the US, it doesn't mean that they won't be interrogated. The chances are good, and it's very likely that if you're a green card holder and you do enter the US and you're from one of these 7 countries, you're going to be held and interrogated potentially for many hours. So be prepared. Dress right, bring food, bring any medical attention or equipment that you require, because you might be there for an extended period of time. And also note that your bags and luggage could be checked, your personal belongings could be checked, your person could be checked, and even your cell phones could be opened. And if it has a password, you have to open up the password, allow them to check your social media and anything else you have on your phone. If you don't do that, there's a potential that for security reasons, they may not permit you to enter the US. Now, one thing that does happen at the border, unfortunately even before the executive order was signed, is that the officers may get people to sign a form I-407, Record of Abandonment of Lawful Permanent Resident Status. This is the official paper you need to sign to say, I'm giving up my green card. Now, sometimes people are scared into this, or sometimes there's a valid reason to do this, but what it essentially is, when you sign it, you're saying that I don't want to have my green card, I'm giving it away, and the officer would remove you from the country. Under normal circumstances, they allow you to enter if you had the proper visa or you're from the proper country as a temporary tourist visa. But since you're from one of these 7 countries, you would probably be removed immediately. So you don't want to do that. Lawful permanent residents in most cases have permission to go before a judge and have the immigration judge decide whether you're allowed to keep your green card or not. So if this does happen to you, don't sign that letter or sign it under duress and note on it that you don't agree with it. And if you don't speak the language especially, don't sign it. You can't be forced to do it. You need to go see an immigration judge for them to make the final decision that's lawfully theirs to do. One other issue is those people that are asylees, people who have approved asylum cases and have been in the US and left the US temporarily with the refugee travel documents to travel and come back. It's not clear what happens to them and if they're going to be considered in the same boat as LPRs or not. Definitely make sure to consult an immigration attorney to review your case and to be prepared for what might happen when you do try to enter the US at a port of entry. One important issue and question that comes up is what will happen to the immigration applications and petitions that have been submitted or will be submitted? For example, N-400 naturalization cases, I-90 green card renewals, and EADs. Well, in those cases, it seems that there's going to be a suspension. The administration has not been clear on this yet, but it looks like, based on the wording of the executive order, that any cases related to these 7 countries will have to be stopped. So if you do have a naturalization case, chances are it's going to be postponed until further guidance is provided. One last issue to think about is for those who are Canadian dual citizens, meaning they're a national of one of these other countries or have been born in one of these countries, and they're also Canadian citizens as well. According to news reports, an agent of the administration has said that Canadians are exempt from the executive order with regards to non-immigrant visas. However, I wouldn't fully rely on that until a direct and full statement is provided by the government about this. You probably can't come if you're Canadian. It's probably okay, and I've seen many cases where it did happen, but I can also see issues happening. So don't make any life-changing decisions to move here without testing this out first, because it could be in for a surprise. Finally, in these situations, it's best to talk with someone knowledgeable to have the best chances of success. Thank you, and I hope to see you in America.